कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ Samad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridhavan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami to Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami to Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you, madam. Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Prabhu. So excited. So happy to be here. Yeah, in the middle of the afternoon. Haribo Sahade, Prabhu.
Yes.
Kusha, Hare Krishna. This is the middle of the afternoon in America.
Sorry. Yeah, that's good. Nice to see you.
I'm happy to be here, Prabhu. Today is Ekavir Prabhu's birthday, so I am grateful to be serving him in this way.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
So I can start. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 16. Just check my volume. Is my volume okay? Sorry, I put on my mic. Just put on my mic for a minute, please. Okay. Okay. So let's start with the Sanskrit. Nahi yashya karichid rajan bhumam veda vidhitsitam yad vigyanashaya yukta muyante kavayopi. Srila Prabhupada's translation. O king, let me do word for word. I'll do the word for word. That's really good. Na, never. He, certainly. Asya, his. Karchit, who, whatsoever. Rajan, O king. Pumam, anyone. Veda, knows. Vidhishitam, plan. Yat, which. Viginashya, with exhaustive inquiries. Yuktaha, being engaged. Muyate, bewildered. Kavaya, great philosophers. Api, even. He, certainly. Srila Prabhupada's translation and his purport. O king, O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The bewilderment of Maharaj Yudhishthir over his past sinful acts and the resultant sufferings, etc., is completely negated by the great authority Bhishma, one of the 12 authorized persons. Bhishma wanted to impress upon Maharaj Yudhishthir that since time immemorial, no one, including such demigods as Shiva and Brahma, could ascertain the real plan of the Lord. So what can we understand about it? It is useless also to inquire about it. Even the exhaustive philosophical inquiries of sages cannot ascertain the plan of the Lord. The best policy is simply to abide by the orders of the Lord without argument. The sufferings of the Pandavas were never due to their past deeds. The Lord had to execute the plan of establishing the kingdom of virtue, and therefore his own devotees suffered temporarily in order to establish the conquest of virtue. Bhishma Dev was certainly satisfied by seeing the triumph of virtue, and he was glad to see King Yudhishthira on the throne, although he himself fought against him. Even a great fighter like Bhishma could not win the battle of Kurukshetra because the Lord wanted to show that vice cannot conquer virtue, regardless of who tries to execute it. Bhishma Dev was a great devotee of the Lord, but he chose to fight against the Pandavas by the will of the Lord because the Lord wanted to show that a fighter like Bhishma cannot win on the wrong side. Om Agana Timirandasya, Ganagala Shalakaya, Jakshuran Militamyena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Parakamalan, Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sakrajatam, Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam, Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Sarabhutam, Parijana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Param, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vishakam Vitamscha, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namastute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sata Devi, Pranamami Hari Priya, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shtatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So I'll read the translation again of text 16. O King, no one know the plan of the Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. They are bewildered. So this verse, text 16, it's actually continuing from text 14, where we learned about Kala and Krishna in the form of time, and how time, Hare Krishna Maharaj, accept my most humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, so nice to see you. Hare Krishna.
I'm very happy to see you.
Wow, this is a blessing.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So we're discussing text 16, which is one of those verses that it's really a wonderful, they're really wonderful verses, 14 through 16, because these verses helps us to understand this great personality, Bhishma, and to understand the mood of the Pandavas. And so as we know, we've been reading, from the beginning, from the text 1 through to where we are now, about what's going on with Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. And we know that this great warrior, Bhishma Dev, is lying on a bed of arrows, and he's meeting all of these wonderful personalities that's coming to see him as he's leaving his body. And so all these rishis are coming, all these great devotees. And of course, the Pandavas have come, and Krishna is there, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself in his personal form as the Lord. He is there with Bhishma Dev. And so in this verse, Bhishma is, we're hearing from Shukadeva Goswami that we cannot, because so many things has happened in this pastime. It's so amazing, to hear how these great devotees, how their lives unfold as they are in service to the Supreme Lord. So the way that Bhishma Dev's life is unfolding is that he is actually being instructed internally by the Supreme Lord to fulfill a mission, to fulfill a plan of the Lord, which is that he will instruct Bhishma Dev, the Pandavas at the battleground, right? And so here we see that Bhishma Dev he's lying there and he's waiting to speak. He's speaking to all these great personalities, and ultimately he will carry out Krishna's wish, Krishna's plan. Now, what's interesting here is Prabhupada is saying that who can understand Krishna's plan, right? Who can understand Krishna's plan? How can we understand Krishna's plan? I mean, we read in the Bhagavad Gita different things about the Lord and why the Lord Advent. We hear, I believe it's in, I don't know, maybe you can pull this up. I think it's, it might be Bhagavad Gita 7:14. I think it's 7:14 that says, Krishna, he's explaining that this divine energy of mind, which consists of the three modes of material nature, it's difficult to overcome. Most people can't understand it. However, those persons that are surrendered to him, those persons can understand. So Bhishma, being one of the 12 Mahajans, he's one of those persons that is able to understand somewhat the plan of the Lord. He knows that Krishna standing in front of him is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's fully aware of that. And he's also fully aware of the Lord as a super soul in the heart. And he is, there we go. This is a beautiful verse about Krishna's external energy, which we are understanding in these verses. Often most people are controlled by time in terms of Krishna's external energy. However, here in these verses, we're also learning about time in relationship to the Pandavas and Yudhishthira. And so, as we said, that Krishna is speaking and saying that this energy is so difficult to overcome, absolutely so difficult. However, those persons that have been able to rise above the modes of material nature, which is the modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness. And so Bhishma, his life's work, his mission is really to give people, humanity at large, an understanding of how even to come to the mode of goodness. Because without coming to the mode of goodness, it's very difficult to understand transcendence. So even though Bhishma Dev, he knew who Krishna was, he knew that the personality of Godhead standing before him was the Supreme Lord, he was giving in knowledge in terms of Dharma, in terms of understanding how to live in the world as a person of character. And so now we hear this a lot in our ISKCON movement, that so much of what we do, so many of our activities, even our thoughts, are to be based on developing character. And we see that many of the great devotees presently that's on our planet, they are spending a lot of time assisting humanity to understand the value of having virtue, having character. And so this is what Bhishma Dev himself was doing. He was bringing virtue and character to the people on the planet then through the means of the Pandavas. He was using them as the instruments that would be able to go back into the mood of being rulers, of being leaders, to really assist people, to be examples of character. And so Bhishma he gave many instructions during this period to the Pandavas, specifically to Yudhishthir, who Prabhupada in the purport is saying that the bewilderment of Yudhishthir because of his past sinful activities. He had, of course, engaged in this war and killed so many, many people. And he was guilty. He was feeling guilty. He was feeling very guilty for having done that. As you know, Yudhishthir is one of the brothers that's very extremely sensitive, very conscientious in terms of virtues. And he is one of the brothers that really, supposedly, he was supposed to never have told a lie. Now, we know that as we hear pastimes about Yudhishthir, we know that under the I want to say covering of Yogamaya, he did do different things that may make us think that he had committed some sinful activities. Even he himself would think like that he committed sinful activities, because he was a very righteous person. We know, and as we study the lives of the Pandavas, he was the son of Dharma, so he was very righteous. However, Prabhupada said here that even though he is thinking this way, he's thinking, I'm so sinful. I've done all this killing, and he's feeling guilty. Prabhupada explains here that Bhishma Devi, he wanted to impress upon Yudhishthira Maharaj that no, not to take on this guilt, as a personal way of being a victim, right? And I'm going to go talk about that a little bit, because we see that in our world, people tend to want to, they actually like to be, in some ways, they like to be victims of the circumstances of the world. They, because they have no knowledge. And so they hold on to being this victim of things that are going on in the world. And so we see here that Yudhishthira Maharaj, that although he was not in that mentality of being a victim as a materialist, as a person that has no knowledge about the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, still we see that Yudhishthira, he because he's sensitive, he's very empathetic, he was feeling really sad that he had, committed what he's saying is sinful activities, because of course killing is a sin. And so Yudhishthira is sharing with him that no, because he's giving him all these instructions. And he's saying, no, actually, you can't understand Krishna's plan. You just can't understand Krishna's plan. And what I want to focus a little bit here is some of the things that Bhishma actually spoke to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And many of what I will share, as Bhaktidhira Maharaj, he has taken this as a personal mission, which I'm very grateful that he has done this, to bring the knowledge of not just Bhishma, many of the great acharyas. However, he focuses quite a bit on Bhishma only because Bhishma is, how do you say, he is glorified. He's glorified. His teachings are glorified by our teacher, by the teacher of His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, in his book, Leadership, I believe it's volume 2. He has emphasized so much about Bhishma Dev, because Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, in his personal life, he really studied the teachings of Bhishma Dev. He studied those teachings in terms of wanting himself to be a leader that would best exemplify the mood of Srila Prabhupada. That was his desire, and that was one of his mission. And a part of his mission was to be this example of Bhishma Dev in terms of a person engaged in devotional service, and also a person that brings the foundational understanding of character to people on the planet. And so he spent a lot of time studying, this life, the life of Bhishma Dev. And so he wrote a book. He wrote a book on the teachings of Bhishma Dev, right? And so I wanted to share just a couple of the things that Bhishmadev shared with Yudhishthira Maharaj, just so we can understand some of the instructions that was important, why Bhishmadev was saying to Yudhishthira, that yeah, it's important for you to Yudhishthira to understand what you're supposed to be doing. What is your purpose? What's your purpose on this planet? And we'll see that as we continue in some of these texts, we will find some of the examples of Yudhishthira Maharaj being instructed by Bhishmadev in terms of the things to carry out. What is he supposed to carry out once he accepts this role as a king? And so one of the instructions that Bhishmadev gives to Yudhishthira, he says, some of the most intricate knots of the mysteries of the universe are wrapped up in leadership. It is not easy to rule well, and a king's one worldly duty is to rule well. He is essentially a man of action. This is Bhishmadev giving this to Yudhishthira. And he's explaining to Yudhishthira, okay, now you're going to be a king and you're going to rule the kingdom. And you need to understand, you need to have some instructions on what it will take for you to rule the kingdom. And he said, he's explaining about being a man of action. It is essentially a man of action. That's what a leader is. And so here, Bhishmadev is lying on a bed of arrows. He's leaving his body. And certainly we know that he was a man of action. We know that he simply engaged in the war and he fought with the other side simply to please Krishna. So when we speak about a man of action, a person of action, one of the first prerequisites is that a person needs to know who they are acting for. That's a key. We have to know, we need to understand, okay, I'm in this world and I'm going to be doing things in this world. If I say I want to be an example for my family or for my friends or for my disciples or whatever it might be, this is then, there's a prerequisite. There's a prerequisite for that. And so the prerequisite is that one needs to understand, who am I doing these for? If the minute that we start thinking that we are doing it for us, for ourselves, then we start having some difficulties, either difficulties with ourselves or difficulties with the people around us. And in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna, he says, therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not consisting the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. And so Prabhupada, he gives five different, well, Krishna actually gives 5 different factors for us to consider so that we don't think that we are the doers of the activities that we are performing. And one of the first ones that Krishna gives to Arjuna, he says, one who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled. So what does that mean, to have our intelligence entangled? Well, our intelligence gets entangled to the degree that we are engaged in the modes of material nature. To that degree, our intelligence is entangled. And so here we are understanding that because Bhishmadev was acting on behalf of the Lord, he was a man of action on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, his intelligence was not affected by the modes of material nature. And therefore, Bhishmadev was the perfect person to instruct the Pandavas here at the time of death, while he's leaving his body with all of these great personalities. Another point that's made in this verse, this really beautiful verse, is that the Lord, that Krishna, he's saying to, he's saying that no one can understand. No one can understand. I'm sorry. Srila Vyasadeva is explaining this. No one can understand the plan of the Lord. No one can understand. And then there's a addendum to that. Not even great philosophers can understand. So there are many philosophers, since time immemorial, there has been philosophers. And we have our modern philosophers, Descartes. We have so many philosophers, and so many philosophers say so many wonderful things. However, the reason that Srila Prabhupada is explaining that these philosophers are not able to understand Krishna is because to understand Krishna is one has to rise above the mode of goodness. One has to come to Suddha Sattva platform. One has to really become engaged in pure devotional service. And that's explained in the Nectar of Devotion. I think Srivas Prabhu is teaching the Nectar of Devotion. And so only a person that is purely executing devotional service can really understand the Lord. And even then, we see, and recently I have been studying the 10th canto with Chaitanya Prema. We're both in the same class, and it's just really sweet because in the 10th canto, we are learning that the persons that are really the closest to Krishna in so many ways, the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani, even they can't understand Krishna. They can't understand Krishna. Krishna does so many different things that, they're bewildered. They don't understand. They don't know what's going on. And they're actually, covered by Yoga Maya, by Krishna's internal energy, internal potency. And of course, we understand that it's not that they don't really understand. They're having this leela, this pastime. Krishna is engaging them in different service opportunities, and he's engaging them in different ways of serving him. However, the point is made that even the gopis, they may experience some different kinds of emotions because they're thinking that they don't understand Krishna, right? Even though this is Yoga Maya potency, Yoga Maya covering. So what to speak of the materialists? What to speak of the philosophers that are absolutely covered by Krishna's external energy? How can they begin to understand the Lord? It's not possible, right? It's like we say, water and oil don't mix. In the material world, we say like that, water and oil don't mix. So it's just two different energies. They don't mix. So the philosophers are trying to understand the supremacy of the Lord, or they're trying to understand who Krishna is. However, they can't understand because they're absolutely covered by Krishna's external energy, which is also part of Krishna. It's also Krishna, but it's Krishna's external energy. And so recently I was looking at this space program because I'm very, I don't know, ever since I was a child, I was kind of attracted to, beyond, like the sky, attracted to the sky. I knew there was something else. I love the stars and I love the moon. And I knew like, okay, there's got to be something beyond this world. I knew that since I was a kid. And so recently, not too long ago, I found this, I guess he's called a space engineer or something like that. Someone that is is educated in that knowledge, has spent almost all his life at the best university in the world, just trying to understand, things about space. So he has this, it's scientific, and they're usually like documentaries. And so he has this whole program, it's a regular program. I think it's called Spacecraft or something like that, exploring, the what's beyond this space, so to speak, beyond this Earth planet. What's beyond, what's going on with the different planetary systems. And he's a scientist. So he was sharing one thing that caught my attention. And he was saying, one of the problems that we have is, and a lot of people are not aware of this, is that just outside of the Earth planet, well, it's still in the Earth planet. However, it's where they are sending rockets. And he was explaining that it's actually a place where the different rockets that are being sent to different places that can't come down, they're not able to just fall back down into the Earth hemisphere, that these different rockets are creating like what's being created on Earth in the waters. It's creating like pollution. It's like the just above the Earth hemisphere is being polluted by all of these rockets that's being sent up into space. And I was just laughing at that because I was thinking, just listen, just look at this. Here is man just trying to explore all of these different, ideas that they think is beyond Earth, which might even be possible. Actually, I know Prabhupada said that in one of those purports, that man is going to explore space. And so they are exploring space. That is a fact. However, they're creating, just as much as they created all the difficulties here on Earth, they're creating those same difficulties in space. And I was thinking, isn't that amazing? That's what human beings do when they don't have knowledge. They have no real knowledge. They may be exhausted with so much material knowledge, and people like respect them, and people, adore them and glorify them. However, they don't have this basic understanding that there are two different energies of the Lord. And there's no way that a person can understand that energy of the Lord that is spiritual, that there's no way that they can understand that. Unless, of course, they are benedicted with the mercy to be able to understand it. And for us as Bhakti Yogi practitioners, where does that mercy come from? Well, it comes from the spiritual authorities. It comes from the spiritual, in our line, spiritual knowledge is passed down. It's deductive, right? So it comes down from the Lord himself, and it's passed down through different teachers. And so that is the way that we're able to have some intelligence of understanding things beyond our capacity. So this is why it's in the same understanding of the philosophers. They really can't understand the Supreme Lord because they need to be able to understand through this deductive process, which most are not aware of because they're still caught in the different modes of material nature. So it's quite simple in some ways, to understand why they don't understand the science, right? And so here, Srila Prabhupada he emphasizes this point, because people, again, glorify philosophers, in our world. And we know, people still today, in the universities, when you study philosophy, I remember studying philosophy, one of the first things they tell you is, Descartes says, what does he say? I am, therefore it is, or I am, therefore something. I am, therefore it exists, or something. Something just really it makes some sense. However, it's not absolute sense, because it's limited to this hemisphere. It's limited to Krishna's external material energy. And so Bhishma Dev is teaching the Pandavas how to be in this material energy and how to help people within this material energy, how to do that. And so this is the reason he teaches, this is why virtue is so important. Because when we think about virtue, we are not able to really understand virtue unless we come to the mode of goodness. Otherwise, we will be acting out of the modes of passion and ignorance. So when we come to the mode of goodness, then we are given that awakening, so to speak, in the heart, where we can then begin to understand what it means to be a human being and have purpose, on this planet. And then we start questioning, okay, what is my purpose? How do I stop self-sabotaging myself so that I can start listening and being aware of how to live my purpose is supposed to be about for most people. However, most people are not able to understand that. And that includes the scientists, that includes the philosophers. So now Prabhupada is saying to Bhishma, Prabhupada is explaining to us that this plan of Krishna cannot be understood because Krishna is inconceivable. Sometimes Krishna doesn't understand his own plan because Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And so therefore it sounds kind of like, you know, I mean, like far out to us because our material mind is structured, our material intelligence is structured. However, Krishna, he does things like, okay, him and Lord and Srimati Radharani, they come as Lord Chaitanya, right? To us, for us, to help us, to give us the holy names so that we can somehow become awakened. Like as we chant the holy names, we get purified. So Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he's often doing things in the spiritual world that may appear to us that he's like so spontaneous. It's not like when he's with the cowherd boys, is, you know, and he's performing activities and and Brahma comes and he has this whole, you know, situation with the cows and it's not like he's planning it. It's spontaneous. It happens. He's protecting his friends. So it's not like he arranges, okay, I'm just going to do this right now. I'm just going to do that right now. Krishna himself is like not always making plans with himself. So therefore, how can we understand Krishna's plans? It just does not make sense. Even in the material world, you know, I know in my relationship with my husband, we have a wonderful relationship, by the way. We've been married for almost 30 years. However, he has a way of being that he doesn't always tell me I'm going this place or I'm going that place. He doesn't know. Sometimes I don't know where he is. I don't know when he's gone. I don't know, you know, what's going on. And, you know, early in our marriage, it used to be very disturbing. However, I have learned over the years that each person is an individual and each person have their plan and each person do what they do. And the easier it became for me was when I started accepting, okay, you know, he's an individual. And why is it that I think he has to tell me everything that he's doing? Why do I think he has to tell me everything, where he's going, when he's going, what he's doing? I mean, what is that about me? What is it about me that I need to explore, you know? And that's in our regular everyday relationships. So what about speak about Krishna and what Krishna is doing? How can we dare to begin to think that we could know what Krishna's plan is, what God's plans are? You know, God is inconceivable. We cannot begin to understand him because it's a totally different energy than the energy that we are acting on presently, at least that I am acting on. So why did Krishna do this? Why did Krishna come to speak to Bhishma Dev? Because he had a plan. He had a plan. And he wanted Bhishma Dev to be the person that was going to educate the Pandavas about how to handle management in the material world. And that was his plan. And that was something that he, you know, Bhishma Dev accepted that. Bhishma Dev, you know, because he's a pure devotee of the Lord, he is fully dedicated to the Supreme Lord, as the Nectar of Devotion says, that when a person is fully dedicated to the Supreme Lord, completely they are covered by Yogamaya, by Krishna's internal energy. And so Bhishma Dev is totally covered by Krishna's internal energy because he knows who Krishna is. He knows Krishna is the supreme person, and Krishna knows his devotee. He knows that he can, you know, give his devotee this amazing task so that he can appear to be on the other side. He can appear to be fighting, you know, the Pandavas. because this is the way that Krishna experiences, the relationships with his devotees. This is the way that he experiences, for lack of a better word, the fun of the reciprocation of being with his devotees. And so this is the mood of the Supreme Lord. So sometimes it seems like devotees, this is another point that Prabhupada makes in the purport, that sometimes it appears that the devotees that are so close to the Lord, that are aware of the Lord, that are pure devotees of the Lord, that they suffer so much. We just finished reading about Queen Kunti, right? And how it seemed like she was suffering so much. It seems like the Pandavas suffer so much. It seems like now Bhishma Dev, he's suffering. It seems like there's always some suffering that these devotees are going through, and they're so close to Krishna. Bhishma Dev knew who Krishna was, yet he suffered like anything, right? So how do we understand this? How do we understand that pure devotees suffer? Well, it's just like in the material world, in our material conditioning and our material covering. Sometimes you can find, not so often, because most of the material world means me and mine. However, there is a little, sometimes there is some slight bit of understanding of doing things for the person that you care about more than doing it for yourself, more than doing it for myself. Like, for example, making, performing austerities, making sacrifices. For, let's say a parent maybe understand this, maybe even more. They make so many sacrifices for their children. They go out of their way, right? They do things that they wouldn't do for themselves, for their children, because that's a relationship. Yeah, that's a relationship. Just like, yeah, if we can somehow imagine that is it comes the closest to us understanding that relationship that the Lord has with his devotees, that he will do anything for his devotees and his devotees will do anything for him. And it's not about the devotees caring about themselves. And then there's, if we can understand also that in Krishna's internal energy, I keep speaking about that there's two different energies, the material energy, the spiritual energy, the internal energy. Often the people that enact pastimes with Krishna are covered by Yoga Maya potency. So that internal energy of the Lord, those persons that are in that internal energy of the Lord, they don't think about themselves. Their whole everything they're doing is to simply be that person that will reciprocate with the Lord the way the Lord wants. Whatever the Lord wants, that's what they're open to doing. Now in bhakti, there are different relationships that we are aspiring to develop with the Lord, different relationships that, we can have with the Lord, actually, when we realize who we really are, once we understand that we're not a part of this material energy. And in those relationships, in those rasas with the Lord, in each and every one of those relationships, we can see for those persons, again, that are covered by Krishna's internal energy, we can see, just like Mother Yashoda, right? She everything was for Krishna, everything, every single thing she was doing was for Krishna. And we can see in all of Arjuna until, he plays the role. Or once he gets instructions from Krishna as a friend, and he understands from Krishna, you see, totally, fully, surrender to Krishna. Even though Krishna says at the end, look, okay, I give you everything. Now you can decide what you want to do. However, Arjuna knew in his heart what he wanted to do. So there is an understanding that those persons that are free from this I, me, mine conception, which is only in Krishna's external energy. It is not there in Krishna's internal energy. Everything in Krishna's internal energy is simply for the Lord. So that can help us to understand the caliber of who Bhishma Dev was. Because Bhishma Dev, everything he did was for the Lord. And so the Lord wanted him to do this. He wanted him to perform this pastime. He wanted him to, be in this war. He wanted him to be on the side of the Kurus. He wanted him to, be on this deathbed with all these arrows in him. He wanted, though, He did all of that, which appeared to be suffering, was for one reason. So that, or you could say a few reasons. He was instructing Yudhishthira, and he was letting that knowledge that he was giving to Yudhishthira, all the other rishis that were there on the battlefield was hearing. Everyone was hearing, including the Pandava brothers. So they were on a mission, and that mission was to educate, if you will, the people that they were going to be guiding. And that is the mission all of us have, each and every one of us. We have this mission. As we are practicing bhakti, we might realize this, in increments. It may not be that we have this full realization of who we are, what we're supposed to do for Krishna. However, we all are given a gift, each and every one of us. We're given a gift to be doing something on behalf of the Lord. And each and every one of us need to really kind of explore within ourselves through guidance, through the spiritual master, through other Vaishnavas, through the studying the sastras, through just sitting and listening with us, to listen in an environment, where we can actually hear. So, for example, one of the workshops that I do, I kind of do a lot of workshops to give secular people a little bit of understanding, because most people are really covered in the mode of ignorance and passion and have no clue about the mode of goodness. And so one of the things I do in my workshop is I always do a little meditation. And I say to them, okay, I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to just think of yourself as being alone. There's no family. There's no mother, no father, no husband, no children. There is no one. You're alone. And you have no responsibilities. You have nothing that you're doing, and you're just alone. And yet, somehow, there is something or someone or something that's there that just will not leave you alone. Just will not leave you alone. You're doing everything possible in your consciousness to be alone, but something won't let you be alone. What's that? And so then when I take them out the meditation, I ask them, so tell me, what was that wouldn't leave you alone? And I'm just like, it's amazing when you put people in that state, because they always come up with, they may not say that it's God, because many of them don't know. They said, oh, yeah, there is something with me. No matter where I go, I know I'm never alone. No matter where I am, I can travel anywhere in the world. I'm by myself, but I know I'm not alone. I get always so many people sharing like this with me. So internally, we are all aware. All of us are aware that there is some guidance with us always. Whether or not we acknowledge it is a different thing. However, if we take the time to be silent with ourselves, to be quiet with ourselves, to really listen, to hear the Lord in the heart, then we will get to know, we will learn what our purpose is, what our mission is, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to use the gifts that we've been given. In most cases, we have more than one gift. How to use that on behalf of helping ourselves, getting out of our own, as I said. We are our worst enemies in most cases, from entering into that realm where Krishna is performing all these beautiful and wonderful pastimes like he did with Bhishma Dev. We sabotage ourselves. We often sabotage ourselves, and we need to explore what are some of the things that we self-medicate on that make us sabotage ourselves. Sometimes when we think of self-medication, we just think of, drugs or alcohol, or there's many things. We sometimes can self-medicate just on our false ego, just on things that we think is I, me, and mine. So we need to explore within ourselves, and we need to call out, we need to cry out to Krishna, Krishna, I am yours. Help me. I am yours. I know I am yours. This is what Bhishma was doing down there in the battleground with the arrows. He knew he was Krishna's. He knew that. And he was calling out, Krishna, I'm yours, and you have some instruction for me. I know. And so Krishna was there. And so then Bhishma was able to share what Krishna wanted him to do. And that was the instruction that he gave to Yudhishthira, which now many leaders, even today in this age, in this time, they follow those instructions of Bhishma Dev. So many places, you can, even if you go to some of the best secular leadership schools, you'll find some of the instructions of Bhishma Dev. It may be given in ways that doesn't seem to be Vedic. However, those instructions are there. So this pastime about Yudhishthira is twofold, to let us not think that we can figure out what Krishna's plan is for us. It's just not possible. And to accept whatever Krishna puts in our lives, whatever it is, whether it's we perceive it as suffering, because really it's not suffering. Really, it's to help us to come to another level of understanding the Lord. So just to be able to accept, just to be able to be present with ourselves enough to be able to say, my dear Lord, I don't know anything. And in this material world, I am subjected to so many, bombardments. And I really just want to experience what it is like to know my true nature. This is a prayer. And all of us, I know we all say this prayer at different times. I'm sorry, I kind of got off into a thing there. Mainly the thing is for us to really look at, again, in a modern sense, in a secular sense, look at how we are sabotaging ourselves. Look at the ways in which we ourselves are making it difficult. And look at the ways that we self-medicate, and be honest with that. Be honest. And as we are honest with that, then the Lord will, as Bhishma Dev said to Yudhishthira, no, don't be guilty for your sinful activities. You're doing this on behalf of the Lord. So let us all do everything that we do on behalf of the Lord to our capacity. And whatever capacities that we may be limited with or lacking with, let's just pray. Let's just pray. Pray to our spiritual masters, pray to the Lord, pray to Krishna. Krishna is in the heart. He's always hearing us. And let us beg, become beggars like His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Maharaj. So I want to thank you guys very much. I'm grateful that Kusha, he just called me like an hour, 2 hours before. And because it's Ekavir Prabhu's birthday today, I wanted to make this offering to Ekavir Prabhu for me to just like be purified, purified speaking, something. So please forgive me if somehow I might have said something that's not proper. I'm begging your forgiveness. And Maharaj, if there's any corrections, anything you'd like to share, please do that. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Mora. Thank you for your nice class. I have a question in your last statement. You say whatever we do, he told Yudhishthira not to worry about his sinful activities because he was serving the Lord. So how do we understand that? Can I just do anything I want because I'm serving the Lord and give the results to Krishna? Because if it's like that, it's really easy to practice devotional service.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question that you're asking for the secular community, because I do understand and I do know that you are fully aware of the answer to this question, Kusha Prabhu.
I don't know the answer.
You're giving me an opportunity to share with maybe perhaps those persons that might hear this class that do not have any understanding about bhakti and Krishna consciousness. So thank you for that. Yeah, this is, if we are accepting, let's say we just accept Lord Chaitanya's prayer
Mother, you say,
Yes.
let me give you a little example.
Okay.
There is a devotee in New Zealand. I don't know, somehow he got my number on our Facebook page. He wrote me that he deals in marijuana. He needs to sell it in Ghana. And we build a big temple for Krishna. I said, this is not devotional principles. You say you're a devotee. Why are you doing this business? So based on that, I think he has this mentality of he can do anything and offer the result to Krishna. Although the business is illegal.
Yes, and you know, there are many persons that utilize the philosophy in different ways. We have seen that. We see that in our devotional life always. So externally, we could say, well, okay, yeah, this devotee, it may be not properly understanding the philosophy. Internally, we can ask ourselves the question, what do I do? May not be on that level of selling marijuana, but what do I do? And that makes me think it's okay, that I can do this and I'm still Krishna conscious. I'm still trying to be a devotee. What is it? Bring it back to ourselves always, because it's very easy to see what other people are doing or not doing. And it's okay to do that to some degree, perhaps to help us. I remember once, before Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj left his body, Kirtananda came to visit him. And Kirtananda asked him, is there anything that I can do for you? And Kirtananda and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said, our revered Guru Maharaj, he said, yes, you can write a book to share with the Vaishnavas about what not to do and how it affects others and how it might have affected you. He never wrote that book. However, I happened to have been in the room when that instruction was being given. And I heard that instruction as an instruction for me as a disciple, you know, to understand what is it, you know, that I'm doing. I am not free from so many of the things that so many people are doing or have done. And it's only by the mercy and the grace of you know, the spiritual process, engaging in the spiritual practices, understanding and having faith in my spiritual master, and ultimately knowing that Srila Prabhupada is there to assist all of us. It's only by that mercy that I'm able to still trying to be a devotee, you know? So yes, I mean, it's easy, like I said, it's easy to say, well, yeah, that person might not properly understand the philosophy. Do I properly understand the philosophy? That's my question for myself. And is there anything that I still do that I'm sabotaging myself, that I may think, oh, it's okay, because, you know, ultimately I'm trying to be a devotee. Another quick pastime about that, once Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he shared in the very early days of being a devotee, he had friends that lived uptown New York City. And he used to visit with them. He hadn't yet fully surrendered. And they were marijuana smokers, you know, they're weed smokers. And he said he would go there and visit with them. And they would get high. You know, I'm just going to speak like, because, you know, I mean, I know that language. I know that environment. I understand it. So he said they were all you know, his friends, they're getting high and they're watching the television with the sound off, no sound, just watching, you know, the activities on the screen. Because they don't want to hear a voice. They don't want to hear any voices, right? That's just an interfere with their high. So he said that, you know, after going there, and they were telling him, this is okay, you know, this is okay. Like, you can do this, you know, it's Krishna, it's natural, you know. He said, but he thought, well, wait though, you know, they're watching TV, there's no sound, and they're just like laughing. And so he was like, I don't know. I don't think this is really what Krishna consciousness is all about. Intuitively, Krishna gave him intelligence to know that, right? And so he gave those friends up. He found, somehow Krishna directed him where he went to a temple in Brooklyn, and there he met, other persons that were not engaged. Those persons were actually practicing Krishna consciousness also. And I've known myself, I have been in environments where I've had friends, I've had at least one or two friends where the male would engage them in sexual activities and said, it's okay. It's okay. You can do this. It's okay with Krishna. You can do this, And so I've seen that happen. So it's because, we're still covered by the modes of material nature. And we're trying to justify our self-medication, the things that we enjoy for our pleasure. We're justifying those things because somehow by Krishna's grace, we've had a little taste of Krishna consciousness. And the way we justify it is to say that it's under the umbrella of Krishna consciousness. However, you and I know that that's not the fact, because, we've been very fortunate to be able to understand deeper what Krishna consciousness is. So it is our duty, first, to be an example, and secondly, to assist lovingly those persons, caringly. Because, every one of us are on different understanding, different levels of experiencing how to get out of this madness. It's not easy. It's not easy. So we want to be very careful how we think about other people. We want to be empathetic to them. We want to be kind. We want to be as loving as we possibly can be. And at the same time, we want to be courageous, to be strong in our resolve to get out of the madness. I hope that's okay, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you so much for that answer. Another question is from Sahadev Prabhu. Sahadev, please.
Hare Krishna, Mother. Thank you so much for the class.
Thank you, Saha.
And I didn't realize today is Ekavera's appearance day, Ekavera Prabhu's appearance day. I'll have to give him a call. That's my dad.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I gave class on this platform, as usual, Kusha Prabhu gave me some atomic bomb question that I didn't have an answer to it. And I gave him a speculative answer. And I'm really happy that my speculation is right, because his question was, what did the Pandavas do for them to go through the sufferings they went through? And Srila Prabhupada stated that in the paper today that you discussed, that the Pandavas suffered not because of past deeds, but simply because Krishna wanted, like you were saying, Krishna just let certain things take place, and he uses his devotees to demonstrate to us. So I'm happy with my speculation. But my question here is that, again, by the mercy of Kusha, I got to know that there was this free Srimad Bhagavatam class going on, which I registered for. And over all these years, I didn't really realize how sweet the Bhagavatam is until I joined this class. It's so sweet. And the teacher said that, of course, as Krishna is saying, it's in the Bhagavatam. When Shukadev Goswami was speaking Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, Sutta Goswami was also there at the time. And so at that time, Shukadev Goswami blessed Sutta Goswami. And due to that blessing, Sutta Goswami also became a speaker of the Bhagavatam. And so my question is, how do I get the mercy of the Guru? Because I understand that the Guru has Krishna and he alone can give one Krishna. And I do not want to come back to this world again. I want to go back home in this lifetime. You know me, I'm not very serious, but I want to go back home in this lifetime. So my question is, what do I do to get the mercy of the Guru so that I do not have to come back to this crazy world again? Hare Krishna.
That's I think the $1 zillion question, a $1 zillion question. However, it's so nicely explained in the nectar in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. In the teaching of Lord Chaitanya, there's a verse that says that that every living entity, you know, we perform all these different activities, but we have the tendency to fall down. That's just our tendency because we're in material nature, right? We're covered by Krishna's external energy. And we understand that Krishna, because he's is in a different energy altogether. It's like we give the example of water and oil doesn't mix. There's a different energy, totally different energy. So Krishna, he doesn't fall down because he's all powerful. He's inconceivable. He's all the things that we might not understand in our tiny brain, our tiny mind, our tiny intelligence. And something that is important to know is, you know, when we say that we want to become pure, because that's what you're really saying. I want to become pure. You're making a declaration. I want to become pure. Then once we make that declaration, there are certain characteristics and certain qualities and certain behaviors that go along with that, with making that declaration. This is like if somebody says, I want to get a PhD. I'm going to be a PhD professor. I'm going to be a PhD professor. Well, you got to put time into it and study and not long hours and years. And, you know, it's work, right? So in order to enter into Krishna's internal potency, yes, we definitely need the mercy from those devotees that are in that energy. They are in that energy, or Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj explains that there are some of those entities, those personalities that come into this material world that they are like empowered to be able to help others, right? They're empowered. They're here, they're empowered. They may not necessarily have just come from the spiritual world, but they're empowered by a person from the spiritual world. So we need to be very conscious of who those persons are. And we need to know, you know, what qualities those persons are supposed to have. And we need to see their behaviors. And we need to see if they're really exemplary of what now you say you're studying the Sastra. So the Sastra tells us, you know, the qualities of such persons. And so one of the first things that I am always aware of is to what degree does such person do activities that are reflective of me and mine? Is it reflective that they are in it some kind of way? You know, like what they think is supposed to happen, or how it's supposed to happen, or what they want. And is that reflective of material energy? So we need to become spiritually educated to understand who and what are really reflecting spiritual energy, which means really understanding what spiritual energy is. And so once we are able to have some understanding of that, then we can start praying and also following those examples, right? That's why Bhishma Dev gave the instructions to Yudhishthira, because he wanted Yudhishthira to follow the example. I mean, the reason Krishna chose Bhishma Dev is because, as we know, he was one of the 12 Mahajans, which means that everything that he did was fully devoted to the Supreme Lord. And so Krishna chose him, you know, to be that person. that would educate the Pandavas and put him through what seemingly was suffering, so he could do that. He could carry out that mission. So similarly, Saha, you are chosen. You are chosen. We are all chosen. Now, one of the things about being chosen is we have choices. And with our choices, we have to really examine and explore ourselves. You know, each and every day. Today, is it for me or is it for Krishna? Today, is it 50% for me and 50% for Krishna? Today, is it 20% for me or 80% for Krishna? Or today, is it 80% for me and 20% for Krishna? So we kind of can really kind of see ourselves, we can really check ourselves. It's not complicated. It's not, it's complicated. Yes, it's complicated if we are kind of entrenched in material consciousness. But you're not entrenched in material consciousness. I know, I come to your home. I know, I see. I know you have this really longing, this yearning to want to really connect with Krishna's spiritual energy, with who Krishna is. I get that totally. However, we need to do the work, and we need to check with ourselves, and we need to work with guidance. So my question to you would be, okay, you're taking guidance from Srimad Bhagavatam, and who else are you taking guidance from? Do you have full faith in anyone to help you in this process? Bhakti Tirthamara says everyone should have a Shiksha Guru to help them. Do you have such a person that can assist you? You know what I mean? Because we can't do it on our own. We can have the intention and the desire, and Krishna will ultimately fulfill that. Sometimes, because we have choice, Shiksha Gurus might come right in our face and we could just turn away. And we do that. We do that. Why? Because we like our independence, which is separate from Krishna. And because, we don't want to be hurt, which is separate from Krishna. Bhishma, they didn't think I don't want to be hurt. He was like, hurt me. It's all right. Put however 1,000 arrows you want to put in me physically, that's fine. Do it. I don't care. We don't want to be hurt, We don't want to be judged by other people. We don't have faith that there's anybody that's really pure. We have all the stuff that goes on. At least, I speak for myself sometimes, Fortunately, I'm grateful to Bhakti Tirthamara that I don't have some of those, some of those I don't have, but some I still have for sure. So we need to check and see, it's not just like talk. It's like one of the instructions of Bhishma Dev. We got to become a person of action. And a person of action is a person that has the ability to express love. And where there's love, there's no fear. So if we really want to be loving, caring beings, then we can't be afraid of having a Shiksha Guru. We can't be afraid of not having faith. We can't, there's all these things we can't be afraid of, but we're afraid, we're scared. Because material world is messy. So messy.
Well, thank you. I do not have a formal Siksha Guru, but in my heart, I have some Siksha Gurus that I listened to and I sought help from, like His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Madhura Maharaj is here. His Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj. They are there for me.
They're physical. They're physical.
I'm very fortunate. So yes.
Yes, they're more than in your heart. They're in your heart, and they're also physical.
Yes.
So yes. And so physical, once you accept someone in your heart, then you got to be ready to accept what they'd say physically also.
Yes.
And that's not always easy. I'm sharing that because, I understand it. Absolutely. When Bhakti Tirthamara says we all have to have a Shiksha Guru, I fell at his knees and said, no. No. How can I have a Shiksha Guru? And then I couldn't even begin to understand that, you know. However, over the years, I've seen how important it is. I've seen how there's times when I get stuck, when I need to reach out, you know. I mean, just even dealing with things with our institution, I see like, wow, I need some guidance with this. And I know that, you know, I write letters. I have a zillion letters that I write to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj all the time. And oftentimes when I speak to, I have a few Shiksha gurus, usually when I would communicate with them, they would tell me, write a letter to your guru. And I'm like, yeah, I do that, you know. And it's nice to hear that. It's nice that you hear your Shiksha tell you, go to your Diksha and write a letter, put it at his Vyasa-san, which I always do, and just wait. Just be patient. Just wait. This is coming from a Shiksha. That's when you know that, you know, that Shiksha is not thinking about themselves, right? It's not about them, because they're directing you back to your guru. But however, you're following the instruction of your guru by going to a Shiksha. So it's like, yeah, it's an interconnected process. So I know how sincere you are, Saha. So, you know, my husband and I, we take shelter of you and Loka.
Oh no!
You're about
We are nobody.
you're about amazing examples.
No.
Mother, don't mind Saturday. He forgot I am also his Siksha for disturbing him. He doesn't
Yes,
know
you
that.
are. I'm sorry. Yes, you are.
Mother, we have a question in the chat room from George Omega. He said, Mother, based on the activities of Bhishmadev, can we say a fall of a devotee is a blessing or loss? Because we always castigate devotees whenever they do something wrong, so to say.
If I can rephrase that question, what I'm hearing the person that asking the question say is, can we, that we normally judge devotees, and can we get, I'm sorry, there was something about fall down and blessing.
Yeah, I said, can we, based on the activities of Bhishmadev, can we say the fall of a devotee is a blessing or loss? I too don't understand. Maybe the English, he needs some words
Yeah.
to make it perfect. It's on the chat room.
Would that person be willing to share?
George, can you unmute your mic, please?
Oh, George. Yay, I want to hear from George. George is such a, he's such a, you know, he's such a seeker. He's in the path. He's on the path. He's on the boat. But he's still like rocking. He's like, no. You know, I'm going to rock a little bit here because I'm not sure about you guys on this boat.
George, unmute yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I'm in a vehicle. That's why. So the place is very noisy, but I will manage. What I mean is, please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. What I mean is, you see, the activities looks crooked right from the beginning, but at the end is beneficial. So sometimes certain things happen to devotees, or they might do something wrong. Right from the onset, we see it in a different way. But the later end, then we see that what the person was doing is very right. Just yesterday, we lost one of His Holiness Japataka's from his marriage, one of his retired. So initially, we took some steps as a youth. The temple management, they didn't understand us. But later, they were in agreement with us. So what I wanted to know is, something when a thing like that happened, like based on the activities of Bhishmadev, something that all best people do not understand. But at the end, he was giving a lecture, something beneficial to humanity. So based on that, that's what I'm asking my question. So when it happened like this, can we say it's a blessing or it's a lose? Because we don't initially understand, but at the end, we see that something beneficial comes out of it. That is my point. I hope you understand me, mother.
I
Even though the
understand.
place is very noisy. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. George. You know, George, one of the things is, as I was saying, George is on the boat and he has all these people on the boat too. And some of those people on the boat are managers. And he's really like a little skeptical about managers. And so he's always like, okay, this boat is rocking a little bit, and maybe it's been rock hard by these managers, and I'm not sure. So, but what I hear now in your question is, okay, these managers, they may understand what I'm saying. So really, you're actually slowing down the boat a little bit. It's not rocking as hard, George. That's what I'm hearing. That boat is not rocking as hard as it was maybe like 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So yes, that question is just a really beautiful question, because in the beginning stages, of our Krishna consciousness, we're getting purified from the modes of ignorance and the modes of passion, and we're coming, to the mode of goodness, hopefully. And so in the beginning stages, sometimes Krishna is really kind, very, very, very kind. Like when you go away from home and you come home, like I saw Atma, when she went home, her mom just could not believe. She was just like overjoyed, that Atma had come home. She was just like in shock, really. And it was just such a joyful connection with the both of them. And so sometimes Krishna, when we first come, Krishna is like, wow, my servant has come back. Yay. He's so excited and so happy, and he makes things so easy. And then once we're home, it's like, okay, now you got to exist with all your other brothers and sisters, right? And then you start seeing, I'm not sure about this brother. I'm not sure about this sister. Oh, why did they do that? Why did they do that? And we still have those tapes playing. Like, I'm sure when Atma went back, right? She had the tapes of America in her head, but she had to adjust to being back in Africa, where things are different. People are different. Everything is different. So sometimes those tapes, they keep playing in our heads, and until we're able to say to those tapes, all right, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. I'm here now. And this is where I want to be. So now you have come to a place where you're thinking, oh, the managers, they're okay. Maybe they didn't understand me 6 months ago, 4 months ago, but now they understand me. Well, really what has happened is you have changed. You have changed. And sometimes managers do change also. Sometimes they also change. Sometimes they get different perspectives. Sometimes they, become more purified also, because remember, we're in this material world because we are, imperfect. We are human beings that are imperfect, because if that was not the case, we would be in the spiritual world. We'll be with Krishna. No sane person would choose to be here, unless they, of course, here on a mission, helping others. Like Bhakti Dear Damodar Maharaj, he's taken up that responsibility to help others. So he's fully committed to that, right? So, however, sometimes when we put people on pedestals, it may, sometimes we could really lose sight. We can lose sight of what the real goal of Krishna consciousness is all about. It's not about putting another person on a pedestal. It's about really trying to understand how that person can connect us with Krishna. And that's the criteria. If that person is connecting us back with Krishna, then we want to try to follow that person as much as we can. However, if in any way you're not feeling that, then you need to at least check in with some other people to see, hey, I'm not feeling that. Am I off? Am I something wrong with me? I mean, is it, does anybody else feel this? And then you'll get some help from others that might say to you, yeah, you're really seeing it through material eyes, material perspective. So always check in. Always check in. Don't, try not as much as you can, as far as your capacity. Try not to understand as you're realizing some of people, because you're interacting with people, we're a personal movement. And so try not to understand people just through your perception, because your perception could be off. And it could also be that perhaps those people are off sometimes. That happens. So you always want to check in. Find people that you can trust. Find people you have faith in. Find people that you can reveal your mind to confidentially, and they won't judge you. They won't call you back to George. You know what I mean? They won't make you feel like, oh, you're new, you don't understand anything. No, you want people that are really going to acknowledge that you are sincerely seeking and wanting to connect with Krishna. Those are the people you need to be around you. I hope that's helpful, back to George.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you, Mother. I have a question. One time, His Holiness Radhanath Swami was speaking, and he said that Bhagavad Gita actually was meant for the saintly kings. So that's why Bhishma Dev has to give this instruction to Yudhishthira in his deathbed. So my question was, if the Gita was meant for the saintly kings, why are we studying the Gita? Why is it we are not kings?
You're more than a king. You're more than a king.
You're
a devotee.
We're not. So
I mean, a devotee is much more glorious than a king. Once this happened with me and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, our Gurudev, I had just come back from California, where I went to university there, and all of my friends, they were like in the theater, so they were like dancers and actresses and actors like that, and they wrote movies, and so most of my friends became very famous. One wrote a play on Broadway, one wrote a movie. 2 movies. I don't know, maybe you've heard of some of these movies, but they were 2 of my friends, 2 different ones. They wrote different movies that became hits in America. And I went to him and I said, I was feeling really like a victim. And I said, at that time I was a devotee, maybe like, I don't know, 15 years or so. It was after I got back from Africa. So around 15 years. And I said, all my friends, they're really successful, because their name was all over the place, and I was seeing them and I was like, what have I done? What did I do? I mean, I was just really being a victim. And he just looked at me and he said, you are all over the 3 worlds. They are here on earth. You are in the 3 worlds. What are you talking about? And I always remember that, because he said it so kindly and so lovingly, really. I was really being a victim. I was like devastated, all these successful people that I went to school with, So what that has helped me to understand, and I'm still learning this, is that we are, we're like a species that nobody can compare to us. We just don't really know it, unfortunately. I mean, we don't always appreciate what we've been given, the gift that we've been given, and we don't always understand like how valuable it is to be a devotee of the Lord. It's, who can understand, this science? Who can understand? A few verses from this we're going to read about Krishna and his inconceivable potencies and how he expands himself. And, who can understand this? I mean, who can understand even the simple thing that, we're not this body? Look, people are fighting all over the world just because they think they're their bodies. So, Kusha, you're greater than the kings.
Sahadev, are you hearing?
Mhm.
Yes, I'm hearing. My
I'm greater
siksha.
than the king. So,
My siksha.
so be very careful.
Well, see,
But you're greater than the kings because you
I'm stubborn.
Kusha, you know that you are simply a servant of Krishna. That's why. And so you serve Sahadev to remind him that he is a servant of Krishna.
yes, he does.
Hare Krishna. Sahadev has a question. His hand is up.
Well, it's about your question. It's interesting because this morning, of course, it was morning, my time here, in our Bhagavatam class, somebody asked the same question Kusha Prabhu just asked, because this devotee was asking, why are we studying this Bhagavatam? Because the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to a Kshatriya, Arjun, and Srimad Bhagavatam was also spoken to a Kshatriya, Parikshit. So why are we ordinary people listening to the Bhagavatam? And so the teacher laughed and he said, oh yeah, it's true, but that is just external. Because Krishna never said anywhere that you only come to me if you are a Kshatriya. It says, my devotee. And my devotee could be under any of the caste system. It could be, sorry, I wouldn't say caste system. It could be any of the Varnashram.
Yeah,
sorry, yeah, Varnashram. So I hope that helps Kusha Prabhu. And on top of that, I was reading this handbook for Bhakti Shastri, and they referenced one letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to one of his disciples. And in that letter, Srila Prabhupada was saying that he encourages all his disciples to read his books, because when we read his books, let me see exactly what he said. Okay. It says, this is a letter to Bahu Rupa, Bombay, 22nd November 1974. Says, in my books, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is explained fully. So if there is anything which you do not understand, then you simply have to read again and again. By reading daily, the knowledge will be revealed to you, and by this process, your spiritual life will develop. This is a letter and I find that to be very interesting. 22nd November 1974. So, okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes. And I want to add what's even more desirable for Srila Prabhupada is to study his books and to teach what we have studied. And that's something I'd like to appreciate and acknowledge the devotees in Africa, because in West Africa, the devotees are very seriously doing their best according to their capacity to share what they have learned. And I see, Maharaj, he's teaching there, the Bhakti Sastri. I see Srivas Prabhu is teaching. I see that Chaitanya Prabhu is coordinating, the classes for the devotees, for the benefit of the devotees. So it's not about just getting the knowledge. Getting the knowledge is important. We need to do that. We need to do that in the mood of, I want to give this knowledge. I want to share this knowledge to as many people as I possibly can. Otherwise, we become gyanis. We just become gyanis. We could become people that like, okay, I know this, I know that, I know that. I can quote this verse, quote that verse, and I've seen many people graduate from Bhakti Sastri they're like that. They're just, the knowledge, they hold it with themselves. And it's I'm not judging it. That's also a way that is, very valuable. However, what I see is how, the devotees in West Africa are like people of action, like Bhishma Dev says, be a person of action. So they're really, and just like Kusha, as you were sharing about Kusha, how, he is, as a devotee, just imagine, he's making this knowledge available to people all over the world. And so you could say that a Vaishya is being engaged in Krishna's service, right? Just like the Kshatriya is engaged, Kusha is a Vaishya, and he's being engaged to, just help so many people. Like for this whole week, I think it's ladies that are giving classes. That's revolutionary. It's revolutionary, Kusha, because I don't think anywhere else in the world, maybe the Bhakti Center, but even the Bhakti Center is, there's men and women, and I know that you have men and women. However, you've given a whole week for the ladies to, just get purified by sharing whatever we might have some little bit of understanding about. And so we thank you, we bless you. We pray that, your Guru Maharaj will continue to let you serve in the way that you've been serving, and that you can be a Vaishya and make a lot of money. So we can have some
money.
University in Africa.
I love cash.
Well, we would love to have a university, like an educational center. And I'm sure that Maharaj would be happy for that. And I'm sure he's trying to do that already. So keep being a Vaishya and keep, helping so that we can, because that's what Krishna sees, Krishna sees those who glorify him. And that's what you're doing. So thank you very much. That's what makes you great. Not that you are Kusha, whatever. I don't know, all the material stuff. What makes you great is your heart that's dedicated to helping others and bringing them to understanding Krishna consciousness. That's what makes you great.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you.
Salika Prabhu, Haribol. And Radhakund is here too. And
Radhakund is laughing so much.
Yes, I like to have fun. We like to have fun. I see Varaha is here also. I'm grateful, Varaha Prabhu, one of the most senior devotees in all of our Krishna consciousness in Africa, in West Africa. I'm very grateful. Krishna has blessed you to keep hanging in there.
Yes.
Would you like to share anything, Prabhu? No. Maharaj, would you like to share something with the devotees before we close?
Maharaj, okay.
Yeah, he's here.
See there?
He's here, but maybe he's not on seat.
Yeah, maybe he's doing something.
Okay, he's coming.
He's coming, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Haribol.
Sorry, I'm putting my lady to raise. That's why I was not there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for a wonderful lecture. This.
Thank you for the
Hare
darshan. Haribol. Haribol. Jai. Woo. Amazing. Krishna. Thank you. Wow, so many shalograms. And Giraj is there.
Yes. All complete. Thank you for a wonderful lecture.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, may I request that you just let the Vaishnavi that's there with you. Can we just see her face a little bit, please? The Vaishnavi. We just want to greet her. She doesn't have to talk. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna. Jai. Haribol. Haribol. Hari. Okay. Thank you.
Another one there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Hari. Jai. Hare Krishna. Wow. Association.
Thank you, Mother, for your wonderful class. So we ask our devotees to unmute yourselves. And let's chant Hare Krishna to Mother for coming for today's class.
Thank you, Radhakund. Thank you, Loka Devi. Salika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mother, thank you so much for this wonderful class. We're very grateful. We're always happy to have you.
Thank
I've
you.
learned so much today.
This is my purification class.
Thank you, Mother.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Bol.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai Hari Bol.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,